Hello and welcome to everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of the PJ&C Podcast. We decided to do things a little bit different for this episode because we have been constantly interviewing others, and we love doing that, don't get me wrong. But we made the decision that we wanted to do this one where I interviewed Alethea. And the reason being is we've been getting a continual theme to our comments that a lot of people have related to Alethea's viewpoint. And I love that. I absolutely love it. The reason being is Alethea is still within her first year of entrepreneurship, whereas I'm at about 20 years. And again, I never say that to brag. It's just a fact of life that I am about at 20 years and Lee is within her first year. And we want to honor those paths both in equally. But the reason why it's so important to us is that it is a great representation of the women that we want to help and reach by doing these interviews and by doing the lives inside of the group, everything. So without further ado, I think that is a great way to explain why we've shifted just a little bit today. We won't in the future, but we will be recording one of these very, very soon where Alethea gets to turn the table on me as well. So we're just doing this, and once in a while we'll jump in and do these without any guests as well, because if there's a subject we really want to dig into or a topic that keeps coming up in the group, then instead of just doing a live where we have another person, we might come in, do it in this format. So today we are going to be focusing on Alethea and Alethea's path as an entrepreneur, how she got to this point, where is she going from this point forward. And I just surprised her right before I hit record that she's going to be officially writing a date on her calendar today. And considering it's recorded, there is no option.
No taking it back.
I actually didn't even ask her. So welcome, Lee, as my guest, officially not as co-host. And let's talk a little bit more about your path, because we had a very, very interesting conversation. Oh, God, it was just about 1 year ago, a little more than a year ago. I think it was December was the 1 year mark from our conversation standing outside my house about your path and what I saw for your path going forward. And so I would love for you to kind of talk everybody that gets a chance to listen to you and your lives about your background, your path, what made you choose entrepreneurship to date. Like, just take us up to date right now. Can you do that for us?
I sure can.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've always been in corporate America. I've always had a 9-to-5 job. I, in my 20s, like not too long out of high school, I went to college because I was interested in computers and more on the technical side, not the software side. So I went to school for that. And it was like an accelerated program, so it was not even a year. And I graduated, and they have a placement department. So, whoever I was assigned to was trying to find me a job. Well, needless to say, it just didn't work out because the field that I had gone to school for, they were kind of looking for people with experience more than beginners. So companies weren't really willing to further educate, further train their employees. So I was like, well, I got to work. So long story short, I found a job. And I used to work downtown Chicago, and I loved it. Loved it. And so that's where I was for close to about 10 years or so.
So you have to stop and tell everybody who you used to ride the bus with.
I used to ride the bus with you.
Yes. We both worked downtown, a couple blocks from each other. So we used to ride the bus together to the city. We wouldn't see each other all day because we were both busy, and then we would ride home together. So sorry, go ahead. Continue with your story.
That was pretty awesome.
I didn't make it about me for a minute. I apologize.
Yes,
go ahead.
That's okay. So, yeah. So, I decided that that wasn't what I wanted to do. I just had this feeling that there was something better that I could work for myself. Bottom line, I wanted to work for myself. At the time, I didn't really think it was entrepreneurial, to be honest with you, because if not like I was, like you created your own businesses, you structured them, you put systems in place and things like that. And I didn't have any guidance I just figured, okay, well, if I could sell something, because to me, that was like the only way to really do it. If I could sell something, then, maybe I could get myself to financial freedom and work for myself, be my own boss. So I tried Avon. I think it was Mary Kay.
I think
I
you did
tried,
too.
huh?
I think so.
Yeah. I tried Weight Watchers. I think Weight Watchers was the last one I did because I was actually on Weight Watchers and I lost weight. So I was like, oh, I could do this. I could. Yeah. Oh, no, the last thing was jewelry. So a coworker of mine she sold jewelry. So I signed up to do that. Anyway, bottom line is, and you and I have talked about this before, I had a comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny, like when I think about it, and I'll kind of tie it all together as we go on, but I've never been one to be out in the open. I'm not one who wants attention on myself. I like to stay back in the cut. If I have something to say or if I have something to, offer, then I'll step up. But otherwise, I like to be quiet. So being a salesperson was what I'm saying. My thought at the time was not for me. But I didn't have anyone to help me. So like I have you now to guide me, to share your experience with me. Being in this group, now I have, other seasoned entrepreneurs giving their experiences, their knowledge.
And that was something you didn't have ever.
Right. I had no support, no support system. I really didn't even have an understanding of what I was doing, really. I wasn't educated. I didn't educate myself. So
can I also interject something there that yes, you were not, however, it wasn't your fault because you didn't know what education you needed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And the reason I bring that up is because the longer I'm in the education side, coaching, all of those things that I've gotten a chance and been honored to do, it didn't even hit me until I started the second business, or third or fourth, third technically, with Grit and King. How many people were in that category, including myself? Mm-hmm. And in fact, if you go into the Robert Kiyosaki methods that he teaches, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that there's 4 different quadrants, and there's employees, there's self-employed, there's entrepreneurialism, if I remember correctly. Please don't quote me word for word. Please look it up yourself. And then investor. And I was stuck in self-employed for 15 years, even though I was an entrepreneur. And from what I understand, this is not from Robert Kiyosaki, this is a Marisa Kelly, that the easiest way to understand it would be, if you consider yourself an entrepreneur, but if you removed yourself from the position of working with the client, would the company cease to exist? If it's a yes, you're self-employed. You are not an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And that's a mistake a lot of young entrepreneurs make, that the system's working when they're on the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
But again, there's a couple steps even before that to go from employee to self-employed, or to make the proper educated jump to entrepreneur. But my point to you, for the reason why I was interjecting that, is you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And it's no fault of anybody's. And I think that was the whole point of what we wanted to talk about today. It's not your fault that those things did not work because, one, the companies didn't have the right training and system in place. And a lot of those companies that you have mentioned have had people that are successful. And then the majority, and I think it's statistically about 98% of people that join companies that have kind of like that network marketing kind of feel, have a hard time finding success because of the lack of training and also the lack of their knowledge into how to do it. It's no fault of their own. They just are not prepared. So that was your path to date. What does the path look like going forward? And then we'll also talk about what you're going to do this year to advance that. So don't worry, we'll get there too. This is like a recorded live diary that I can on. And no, I'm teasing. I wouldn't do that to you because you're doing such a great job. I'm just giving you a hard time. But what does the path forward look like? And I know you've talked about it a little bit in lives, but again, if you were sitting down to present what your company does, and I know I hinted around about this last time we were on a live, but what would be the way that you would explain your passion project? What are you called to do? How are you going to help other women?
Well, that's one thing I had to figure out. I had to figure out my why. And I know we've talked about it before. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we can express enough how important that is, because when you know that, you know what direction you need to go in, you know who it is you want to help, you want to serve. And so that brings together how you proceed from there. So I have always been the kind of person that I find satisfaction and joy out of helping people.
Yes.
And again, in the past, I didn't really think I had much to offer, but, with your mentorship, I realized that my expertise was in public speaking, because that's what both of us did as we were growing up, so never in my wildest dreams did I think that would be my path, because I didn't like doing it in the first place. But you were right. The more I thought about it, the more I reflected on it, that's where I have my background in. So then once I made that decision, then I had to decide who it was that I was going to help with that knowledge. And being a woman of color in society today, it has always been something that's bothered me and has been on my mind, is that women of color are sometimes kind of pushed in the background, or their words, their voices are muted, like they're not important, like they don't know how to express themselves. So those are
or not allowed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I decided that's who I want to serve. And it's just, and not, honestly, it's not just women, and it's not just women of color, it's women, period. But knowing and understanding and having what's the word I'm looking for? Being of that culture, I have an understanding of it. And so I feel that I am able to help and to break down those barriers. So what I have been able to do with you and your guidance is I've been able to get out of my comfort zone, or I should say I've been able to push it out more. And thank you for not allowing me to stay in that, because that's what I need. I needed someone to push me through. And speaking to everyone, it's not easy. When you have a comfort zone, that's where you want to stay. And you really do need someone who's going to hold you accountable and who's going to encourage you to push through that. And so I was fortunate enough to have you. And so now I'm in the education phase. I didn't have the education, at the beginning, but now I have the education. And that's given me the tools to understand what I have to do to start building my business. And we talked to Tia on Friday, and she helped me to understand, or to realize, that I have a lot more education that I need to go through. And that's, the reason why, or one of the reasons why you and I started this group in the first place, is because we know that there's others like, say, me, like you, out there, and we can give into imposter syndrome. We can give into our comfort zones. We can give into not knowing where to go from here. And we need people to help us to get past that. And so, Tia helped me to realize, as a public speaker, that there's a lot more to it than I even realized. So again, now it's the education phase.
And I'm very glad that you brought that up, because that was one of the main topics I wanted to talk about today. So if you can imagine right now, you're standing on a path. It could be a dirt path. And there's one that's a little bit sunnier and it's a little beat up. However, it's kind of cut out already for you. And then the other one, you're looking down it and it might be darker and you might twist around a couple mountains and you can't even see it. Most people take the path of least resistance, let's be honest. And I know that's a very, very simplified version of it, but that's what I could come up with on the fly. That path, though, that looks nice and a little bit cleaner and a little bit safer, it looks like part of the problem is solved for you because the path is there at least.
Right.
That's the entrepreneur that decides, well, I already have the abilities, I have experience, I love doing this, I'm passionate about it. All the right answers. Okay, don't get me wrong, but it's still surface level. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, I can do this. And they start walking on the path. The other path that you can't even see, and it's definitely going to be more difficult, and you're definitely going to have scrapes, bumps, bruises, ows, and swear words coming out of your mouth, is that other path. And that's the path most entrepreneurs do not realize they should have chosen first because they didn't know. Plain and simple. But the problem is most people think, I'm passionate about this, so I'm going to start a business about it. I'm here to tell everyone, and I know you are starting to understand more and more, not that you didn't before, but again, your personal evolution, your personal awakening and education experience as an entrepreneur. There is a big, big, big difference between loving something, being an expert at it, and then also being an expert at how to build a business.
Yes.
And I'm here to burst that bubble for anybody else. You're good. I don't have to worry about you. This isn't going to freak you out. That there is no way you can be a chef and want to start a restaurant without having any knowledge about how to run a business.
Yep.
You cannot be the best, absolute coach, best in the entire world at public speaking without knowing how to run your business. And this is one of the biggest issues I see right now to date for entrepreneurs, that they're relying on the fact, well, I want to be a travel agent. I'm awesome. I love to travel. Oh my God, I'm all over TikTok. Not a bad start. Okay, keep that passion. Seriously, because you're going to need it on the bad days and the hard days. I want everybody to keep that passion. But what I'm talking about is digging into the education. And I actually recently just wrote some content about this, and I have this conversation quite frequently with you, with others. There is no guidebook or handbook that you can go to. And I've used this example before. If you go into Barnes & Noble even and go into the business section, I encourage all women to do this. Stop and get Starbucks while you're there and go walk through the business section. I want you to count how many books are written by women. Now, it's more now than it used to be, but the majority of that section is male dominated. It's just the way it is. So we need to find our own handbook, and we need to do it the way that works for us. But education cannot be stressed enough. With that being said, though, you have to put a date on the calendar.
Yes, you do.
I could stop there. You've got to put a date on the calendar. I love when I do this to her because she gets me back. That is an actual official, this is the drop dead date, where you mentally switch from student to CEO. That is the importance of this date. And this is something I walk through with everyone. And I've been nice to Lee because, Leah's like, don't bite the hand that feeds you in my circumstance, because I can't live without her. So I for all intents and purposes, friendship.
Even if you do bite my hand, that's okay, because I can't live without you either. So
okay, so I'm allowed. You're giving me subtle permission there. Okay, sure. So that's why you do need to, because again, you're never going to lose the education part. You're always going to be in learning mode, but you do have to mentally make yourself stop being a student once you have expert status on your belt. Now, this is my rule of thumb for our students, that education becomes experience, experience become expert status. However, that applies in business and in your industry, both. Mm-hmm. So it's almost getting a dual I want to say two majors, because I don't want to say a major and a minor. That wouldn't be appropriate. But almost having two majors in the same degree.
Yep.
I would liken it to that. That's the only way I can put it that's fair enough. And I know it's a lot. What I'm asking people to commit to, and it's not just for our students, but I mean, just in general, if you want to become the world's best chef or whatever it may be and open your own Michelin star restaurant, you have to be equal in both areas, because without the business education, everything will fall apart.
Yep.
So what is your official date, Lee? Do you like how I segued there? Where
all right.
you
Well,
switch from student to CEO.
Okay, so official start date, November 1st, 2024.
Okay. So that is the start date of, as in you're mentally no longer a student. And I agree with that, by the way. I just want to tell you, not that I need to or not, but I agree, because you're giving yourself the proper amount of time to learn the skills that you need. And, you know, even we talk about if somebody goes through our program, in 6 months, they can be an expert in visibility, marketing, websites, landing pages, digital marketing, social media, whatever, all of it. I should say, even the sales process and how to be better at sales. But that entire process takes time to build. Education takes time to build. It's just like walking upstairs. You can't step up 3 or 4 at a time. You have to take the time to do it properly, right? And especially going down the stairs. Maybe you can jump up 1 or 2, but, you know, other way it doesn't work. But same thing with when it comes to building expert status, because if you jump around and you ping pong all over the place, you're never going to have a foundation of knowledge that you need to actually create a company. So you have to give yourself that grace, and you are. And that's why I said, I'm really glad you're saying that date, because if you would have said March 1st, I'd be like, have you
like, are you serious? Are you sure about that?
Do you know you're not going to sleep and you're going to be cranky and grumpy, which I've never seen in 28 years, but I know it's coming.
Yeah.
If that's the case, because I don't blame you. And I don't think I'd be like, Lee, there needs to be an intervention. This is not happening. So November 1st, I think, is a very realistic goal. What a great way to end this year. How much more knowledge will you have between now and November 1st? It's going to be huge. But it's easy, again, too, when we start out, we get that dopamine high. And then it's almost like a ski slope that happens. And actually, so I always call it mastery in the middle because it sounds a little bit nicer. I've heard it called the valley of despair. And I just feel like I can't call it that, because I just can't. Like, that to me is so discouraging. The first time I heard that, I was like, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me. No, that's way too negative. Because I'm already putting somebody on a path winding around mountains as it is. Yeah. I don't need to say the valley of despair, but there is some truth in it that, you know, you go from this, like I said, this dopamine high and feeling really, really great, to the realistic part kicks in of, oh, this is a lot. There's a lot to learn. And one more day. So again, the date that we are saying about setting an official date for the year, this year, is not the date where you have to literally have every duck in a row. You have to know everything about public speaking. No. We're going to use your knowledge base, and we're going to get some credibility there, the certifications, whatever it may be you need to solidify your resume, okay? And not saying that you don't have a killer resume, you do, but it never hurts, right? But at the same time, what else are we going to be doing? We're going to be building up your knowledge about business. And we're going to build your structure out, and we're going to help you find the right people, and we're going to walk through all the steps it will take to legitimately have a foundation of a business.
Yes.
So that's what the November timeline will give you. And now you have committed to that as well. So I'm very proud of you. So I do have one other question for you about this. What are you going to be doing besides, obviously, I know you are participating not only in mentorship to partnership, but you're a part of the VIP team, and also helping some of the students with some of the beginnings of their business growth as well. But what other education are you going to be planning? Are you going to be doing, do you have the goal of public speaking for yourself this year? what are you thinking? What is on your bucket list for this year to complete before the November 1st deadline?
Definitely getting some actual more public speaking, as an adult, experience under my belt. I feel that it's important. If I'm going to be able to guide someone else, I have to understand the whole path. So that's definitely something that's on my list of things to do. So I think that I would like to be able to do that maybe in October, September, October-ish area, just so that giving myself again that window of time to complete as much education as I can at that time. But, again, experience equals expert status. So I need to have that experience to be able to be able to teach others. So that is my goal later on this year.
So if you described the scenario that you have in your head for November 1st, what would it look like? Public speaking engagements actively, on your resume right now for 2024, certifications in business, certification in public speaking, whatever that path looks like for you. And I apologize, I'm not trying to be general. I don't know exactly, because again, I'm more on the expert for business end. What else would be on that bucket list? Don't you love when I know the answer before you do?
Yeah, I do. I'm like, what's the answer to that question?
Well, I don't have to tell if you don't want to tell them. I would say we've also spoke about Lee becoming officially an author on a couple of subjects for life. And also maybe the manuscript completed, and also her digital real estate developed. Meaning Lee is an expert at creating connections on social media. Like, she is better than any AI bot you would ever want to purchase, because she's got like a Midas touch. So we actually have her work with a lot of our partners on this. And so Lee is developing your own personal digital real estate. And this is something that I advise every entrepreneur to do from the moment you think about becoming an entrepreneur. Just be social. Now, that doesn't mean post about everything your cat does. Sorry, guys. Not necessarily. You don't have to just post just to be posting. Please don't. Don't feel called that like you can't miss and you can't. Don't put that pressure on yourself, because you're in education mode. But what I'm saying is just actively post even a couple times a week on your preferred platform that you know that you're going to be reaching people, and create connections, whether it be LinkedIn, Facebook. Do it weekly. Make it a habit. Start being social. Find people that are in your preferred industry that you're trying to become an expert in. Follow them. Read everything they write. Start taking notes of things that they are doing that you want to do. Use it as a part of your education is my point. And I will tell you, Lee is a perfect example of that. So that is something else too. So we're going to be setting some goals for you for your digital real estate as well.
I do want to add to that.
Yeah. So those were the two that I had, by the way, the book and the digital real estate.
Yes.
What else
Thank you
did you
for reminding me of that. So about being social, you know, when you do start to build up that digital real estate, it's actually important for you to not just get as many people, you know, on your friends list or on your connections as possible, but actually, you know, talk to or at least engage with a few of those people.
As many as you can, I think. Yeah, as much as possible.
Because to me, you know, just adding connections or just friending people is generic. You know, correct. I mean, what are you really doing? All you're trying to do is build up numbers.
Yes.
But actual connecting, responding to posts they make, you know, or sharing posts that they post, or whatever that looks like to you. But it's very important to actually, you know, engage with these people. You know, don't just say, okay, you're on my friends list, and that's all it takes. It doesn't take that. Again, networking is one thing that this group is a big platform for, and it's important. I mean, Missy knows how important it is. I know by watching her how important it is. You really do have to connect with the people who you feel are going to help you to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
You need them in your corner, and you both need to be familiar with each other. So yes, I on your points of actually engaging and really connecting with these people is important.
Yes. And same thing that, like when we've launched new things, other people that we support, other people that may be a little bit more traditional as a coach or whatever it may be, but we believe in them. We've seen their path. We know how much they've worked at their company to build it foundationally, and also how they help their clientele, meaning they come through. They're great people. Those are the first people I jump in, and I will do a reference on their LinkedIn, or if they post about something new coming out, I'll say, this person is great. You can believe in them. Guess what happens in return then?
Mm-hmm.
The minute you launch somebody, you have an army of PR agents at the ready to do the same for you too. So it's definitely building your digital real estate early and being diligent with it is never a wasted effort. The first couple of days, you're going to be like, oh, this sucks. I don't get likes. Just keep going. Okay? It's just like going to the gym. You've got to keep going. And I'll tell you, be consistent. That is the other thing too. So Lee is a shining example about that, is my point. And I would encourage anybody that actually needs some assistance with that, sign up for classes with Lee. I swear, coaching with her, because I'm telling you, she has the Midas touch. I'm telling you, in the 2024, there are rules and there's ways to do it. But again, do you want artificial like results, or do you want an army of PR agents?
Yes.
That's a curated approach. It takes time. It takes a lot of time. We are continually building as a team. It's crazy. I mean, how many people we can reach nowadays without $1 of paid advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's nothing. And it's because we've been consistently working at it for a couple of years. So that is one thing out the gate. As you're becoming educated, do not neglect your social media, but do not think of it as your chance to give an Oscar speech or need to do Hollywood pictures. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Be social. Be there for others. Be present. And it will pay for
be yourself.
Yeah, it will pay for itself in dividends in the future. So it's good. So is there anything you would like to add to this, Lee, before we wrap up?
No, but I appreciate you once again encouraging me.
Fire.
Exactly. That's why I love you. Like you will not let me get into my own head. You keep me honest. And these people in this group, this is the kind of person you need in your corner. You need someone who's going to keep you accountable and not let you trip yourself up.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because it warms my heart hearing you say that, because I made you the promise so many years ago that I don't care if I have to drag you up the damn hill, you're not leaving. And I have yet to find a crazy idea you've said no to. So, but I appreciate you always believe in my vision. And so this is that moment of the 20-year entrepreneur versus the young entrepreneur part. For me, my reflection, okay, is that it's so amazing. Like the program I just took 15 months to underwrite and create and tweak and beta test and all these things. For myself, from my viewpoint, it's so humbling to hear people on our team speak about that program as if they personally were there for every moment of every day. And that's a good thing. I'm saying it in the coolest way possible, because it's so cool to me. Like I nerd out about this, because it's like when I was sitting there writing it and testing it and doing all these things, it felt like a someday, this is going to be there someday. And now to see like the video that we have on our funnel, and those kind of pieces, and hear Lee or other people in our team, Nesto even, or anybody in our team say, this is the Grit and King program. This is why it's so amazing and special to us. And it's a we project now. That's where I'm going with this. It's a we project, and we have the same vision. We all see the vision. Oh my goodness. It's only word I can use is humbling.
Mm-hmm.
For me.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's so cool, and it's such an honor, and it feels a little weird. I got to be honest. And again, this is going back to the imposter syndrome. It doesn't go away. Not that I'm having imposter syndrome about it, but it's like that. Like it just like knocks you back a step and makes you stop and go, wait a minute, whoa. How did I get here? Whoa. Like it's more of that than imposter syndrome at this point.
Right.
But it's so dang cool. So I appreciate what you just said. I acknowledge and I accept the compliment. And I tell you, it warms my soul, my heart to hear that, because I truly, truly do not shrink on the responsibility of asking other people to come along and be on the crazy roller coaster with me, because, sometimes I'm pinky in the brain. I'm just saying. So, I take acknowledgement of both sides, though. You notice that I never put any.
You said pinky and the brain.
No. My brain is equal there. No. So I ask others, Joe, though, to like sign up for this crazy, I don't know, spaceship ride. I don't even know.
Right.
Who knows? But that's the whole point, is I just appreciate that others see the vision. And that is why, okay, again, going from the beginning to 20 years in, I can tell you, do not give up.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you it will work out. I can tell you your greatness is there waiting for you to discover it. It's right there. And it just takes the consistency and the bad days and the good days and the days that you choose to get up an hour early and stay up an hour late. And yes, it's a lot. Okay. It's not easy, or else everybody would be entrepreneurs and everybody would be multimillionaires. There's a reason why it's still a 1%er club, or whatever, 3%, whatever it is, but it's worth it.
Yep.
It is so worth it. So Lee, I am so incredibly proud of you. I want to tell you, and I am so impressed. And you reflect on what other people say in our interviews and things like that. And it's a first seat ticket row to the show for you as an entrepreneur. And so glad you have this opportunity, because your learning curve is going to be amazing. But that's why I want to encourage others that are watching these episodes, listen to them, because each entrepreneur will give you something. There is something you need to hear from each of them. So absolutely take the time and listen, because you will. It's an education in itself, for sure. Yes, so, Lee, sure. Is there anything you want to add before we are done?
Just that if I can do it, you can do it.
There you go. There's the famous line from Lee. Well, thank you for joining us today, Lee. I'm very proud of you, and I just think this was an amazing chance for us to sit down and kind of reassess the timeline and see where you're at.
Yeah.
And we will do this again in the next couple of months, because we need a progress report. So you get about 2-3 months to work like crazy until we get a progress report. And we're going to do, like I said, in the next week or two, we'll be recording another episode like this, where Lee is going to turn around. I'll talk a little bit more about Grit and King, so everybody in the group can get to know me a little bit better. I have the advantage of talking a lot when we do these, so I think everybody's kind of getting the picture. But, just a little bit more of a clear vision of how did I get here, and kind of where everything comes from. So we will have that conversation very soon. But thank you for joining us today. And I hope that everyone got a chance to feel like that they know Alethea personally from this as well. So we thank you, and we will be back again next week with a new episode and with a new guest as well. We've got so many people coming up, so it's going to be amazing. So do not miss. And we will see you next time.
Bye.